So we are given a certain array of integers, and we wanna find two elements from this array, which in sum are gonna give us a target value. So in this case, we can represent our target as it's going to be represented as number 1 plus number 2. I will call them num 1 and num 2, and let's go through this list of numbers, and let's say the current element, we'll take it as the first number of those two potential numbers to complete this target value, right? So, and in this case, number 2, to look for number 2, the value of those of this second element is going to be target minus num 1, right? So let's say the target is going to be 10, or I don't know, 12, or yeah, let's say just 10, and let's have the following sequence as an example: 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, you know, 10, right, and we're gonna go and take 1 as we're gonna go and take items one by one, and let's say the current element is 1, and the element we will take it as the potential first element in this expression, and this is going to be in number 1, and the number 2 we're gonna find 9 in this case, and 9 is going to be number 2 in our expression. So the way we're going to look for it is not the brute force, which means if we want to find, we go through the rest of the elements except the current one, and we're going to look at that, like 3, 4, 5, 6, all of it. And if the current, let's say 4, we're going to go again, we're going to go through 1, 3, 5, 7, 8. The complexity is just going to be not the best one. And yeah, instead of that, we're going to store all the numbers that, all the elements that we have seen already. And let's say, yeah, sin nums. And we're gonna go and add each element that we have already seen, and at the first iteration, number 1, and we haven't seen anything before, so we add in this 1, and yeah, let's say to complete 10, let's next this following is 3. And 3, we need 7, and 7 is not in the list that of sin numbers, and in this step we are adding 3 as well, and yeah, so it hasn't worked because we're not having 7, you know, we haven't seen 7 so far. So the following is 4. 4 is requires 6 to complete the target, right? And 6 is still not, we haven't seen it yet. So we're adding 4, and yeah, the following is 5, and you have an idea, right? So 5 requires 5, which is not the case because we can't use the same item twice, right? So yeah, and the following is 7, and 7 in this turn requires 3 to complete 10, right? And we are having 3 in a, we have already seen 3, and that's great, because we it means that we are having 2 elements that are complete, that in sum gives us our 10, right? Which we wanted to find those 2 elements, and those are 7 and 3. And maybe there are other 2 elements which gives us 10 as well. Let's say yeah, there are 2. I mean, if we have if we take 1 and 9, it would also work, but we found 7 and 3 before that, you know. So how to implement that? We wanna store all those items that we have already seen, and let's go the list where we will store those synonyms, and it's gonna be stored the following way. We want to store the value of the number and its index, and the good data structure here is going to be a map structure, and in this map structure the key is going to be a value. Value is going to be a key, right, which is integer, and we're going to store the index as well of this, of each element that we are seeing right now, right? Because eventually we want to return an index to indexes of those elements, number 1 and number 2, right? So yeah, returning to our loop, here you're having the first number, the first potential number from this expression, and we can look for the second number, and from what I said before, to look for this second number, we wanna ask if we're going to take a look to those numbers that we have already seen, if there is such number to complete our target, right? So, and if they're one, I mean, let me just complete it. We are asking if we are having such a number in the list, in this seen numbers list, if we're having that, and it's this OK variable will tell that if you're having such element or not. Go and check. I don't know. Go check Golang docs to find this expression. Yeah. So this is going to be the value of the element with the key number 1, 2, and this is going to just say us if we're having such an element, and if we do, that means that we have found our pair, right? Because we're having those two numbers, number 1 and number 2 here, and here we are having those the indexes of those numbers, right? Which is I, the index of the current element from the numbers array, and j is going to be an index that we have stored with this value we have already seen, with number we have already seen, right? Because for example, we're having 3 as the current element, and we're storing it as sin number, and we're storing it the following way. We're going to store 3 as the number, as the current element, and we are going to store this index. So this is going to be our map, and 1 will have a 0 index, and 3 is going to have the first index, 4 is going to have second index, and etc. etc. 5 is going to have the third index, right? So yeah, and it goes further. 0, 1, 2, 3, and etc. etc. Yeah, and let's say if we haven't found one, if there is no one, if there is no such value as as the second potential that we want to have to complete the target, if there is no one, like in the example that when we are having the first item, yeah, because we haven't anything to complete this one element, right? To complete 10, we have no, like, I mean, our sin numbers at that step would be an empty list, right? Yeah, and in that step, in the first iteration, let's say, we want to add our that numbers that we're currently having, number 1, and we're gonna store this index, which is going to be represented by this I variable, right? So at that step, we're going to have number 1 as the key, and 0 as its index, and we'll store it this way, and the following is going to be 3, right? Because we're having 3 and we need 7 to complete, which we to complete 10, which we won't find in sin numbers, and since we want to store this 3 as the sin number, as number we have seen so far, and this index is going to be 1, of course. So yeah, I hope you get an idea here, and yeah, so to return those indexes, we want to return a slice, right, of those 2 elements, which are gonna be I and j, and yeah, so if it won't work, if it will never work, then we wanna return. I believe it's gonna be also slice with -1 indexes, which are gonna represent that, which are gonna say that we haven't found those 2 elements that in sum gives us our target. So we haven't found one, because that's because that's why we are returning those 2 -1s. So let's check if it works. Yeah, so somewhere, yeah, oh sure, so Go requires this make function to create a map. Oh, it works, great. But yeah, so here just one small addition. On this step, returning we are returning I and j, and in that step I is going to be higher than j, because j is what is the index of the number that we have already seen, and j is going to be lower than I, and this is just it's going to look like more logical that we're returning the smaller index at the first place and the larger index at the second place. Yeah, so now we're returning 0 and 1, and that should work. Let's submit it to check with different, yeah. Okay, great. Hope it was helpful.